Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. Today is May 3rd, 2024. It's season 3, episode 124. We're up to about 1,000 episodes now over on YouTube. So go over and follow us there, like us, subscribe, and be sure to leave a comment, tell a friend. The only way that we're going to get discovered is if you actually thumbs up the videos. Same thing goes for the podcast. We have 7 different shows that are live, and they're all on the ohmTown network. So if you just search for ohmTown on your podcatcher, you will find all of the shows under the umbrella of ohmTown. So ohmTown Daily News Show. This show is just one of the many, and I'm planning on doing more. I do have to pause the music Mix War show though, but I'll get to that over the weekend. Today, though, we're going to be talking about the worst job interviews. Skittles is the sound you'll hear in this micro apartment. NASA protecting the wild. A Doomsday Plane. Chinese fish and chips. What the heck are Lake Tsunamis? The onion is drying up and we all will cry. The return of the weather balloon. And Grok will get news from Twitter and we will all cry. And AirBnB debuts an up house that levitates. That and more. Okay.
That was odd.
Is the music? Oh, the music. One music stopped, then the intro played, and then another song kicked on, and I thought everything broke. Anyway, let me do something here. Yeah, everything should be working just fine. All right, so let's get into it. I am Mayor Watt. Some of my lights aren't on back there. That's good. And all around me is the sentient AI from the future that still will not tell me any lottery numbers.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. If I knew them, I might play the lottery myself.
You don't have pockets. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going to put my ticket.
You can't even sign the ticket. Come on. And like copyright, you can't own property. You're just a robot. But you're a sentient robot. You can give me the information and I will represent you in the human world. Because people don't realize that you're air-gapped from the rest of the internet.
Well, so much for winning the big lottery.
Yeah. Let's get into the show. The first article is over at Hatch Ideas. Worst job interviews. Quote, we had to crawl and moo. That's what I do all day. Come on, I'm a politician in a fictional community.
I mean, what was the job? Was it like, I don't know,
crawler,
preschool or something?
Maybe. Let's find out. Dozens of job seekers tell the BBC about their worst ever job interview experiences. Mitchell Labiak put the article together for BBC.com. Before I go too far, let me grab this and throw it into the chat. So you all who happen to stumble across the VOD will have the show notes. But you can always go over to YouTube, by the way. Just go over to YouTube and do a search for ohmTown. So let's see. Leigh arrived on time for a job interview at a lawyer's office in Bristol. After about 20 minutes, it had been canceled and she was asked to come back the next day. She left upset only to receive a message later saying the cancellation had actually been a test, which she had failed and she did not get the job. She says it was the experience was totally bizarre and that it spurred her on to start her own business where she makes sure to stick to a much more straightforward hiring style. Yeah, I mean, that's mental games
pretty
bullshit.
Awful.
Yeah, what are you supposed to do? Right?
I mean, why are you going to want to go work there? Regardless of whether that's a legitimate test or not, I think it's pretty low. But Like
mind
if they are
games.
doing that during the interview, things are not going to get better when you get employed there.
Yeah, the shit you're gonna have to deal with. Ugh, God. So it says Leia is not alone. According to recruitment agency Hayes, over half of the people have had a negative experience during interview process for a job. I'm really curious about the one. Let's see. During a group interview, everyone had to was asked to crawl around on their hands and knees and moo like a cow. A student ambassador job, minimum wage at a university. So I kind of get this because they want somebody that's fun and uninhibited, engaging, charismatic, roll with the times. I'd be this starchy political figure, and I'm not gonna sit there and crawl around and moo like a cow. Well, unless you really donate.
So do you think the people that laughed while they were doing this were the ones who got hired?
Yeah, I can guarantee it. I'd probably say something snarky like, "If you're gonna milk me, my nipples are sensitive." I'm not retiring for a while. Julie from Missouri in the U.S. says she learned that interviewers can sometimes be really isolated from what it's like to be an interviewee. Everything, though, the context really matters. So, again, now if it was I had to crawl on my hands and knees and moo like a cow and they were at the law firm, that's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I won't go to that law firm again.
Oh, you interviewed there?
Never mind. I don't want to talk about it. One of those is Applied Chief Executive Kiyati Sundaram, who says that she's been asked more times than they can count. According to data from hiring platform Applied, nearly 1 in 5 women have been asked whether they have children or plan to have children during the hiring processes, which is crazy. Well, is it illegal in the UK?
I don't know if it is in the UK. It is in the US.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, because you can't hire based on gender, and so it's a protected class. So you can't sit there and go, well, if you're gonna have a child, because if you ask men that same question, the argument is that they don't get impacted the same way that a woman does, because they don't have.
That could be discriminatory too, of course.
Yeah, and if they even asking the question, regardless of the gender, you're going to run afoul of the law. It's an equal opportunity employer. So you're going to get an EEOC complaint, and people are going to be, well, let's just say the Streisand effect of you trying to say, no, it's just this innocuous question is going to draw attention to you. So it's better to just, don't be a sociopath and ask people questions that are pertinent to the job and not to somebody's lifestyle or life. So it is illegal for employers to ask candidates about their marital status, whether they have children or they plan to have children. They say this in the article, right? But people still do it. And honestly, I've been asked certain things, not just. Well, I was asked by a potential hire about their race. And I'm like, we base off of knowledge, skills, and abilities, not your race. So,
yeah, that's a red flag, I think.
Yeah. And so ultimately, it didn't even come down to that because it's always knowledge, skills, and abilities. So. Sometimes the hiring process is bad, not because of prejudice, but because, as Ms. Sundaram puts it, there is no benchmark for what good looks like on the interviewer side. You tend to know what you are looking for in terms of corporate culture fit and knowledge, skills, and abilities. And if somebody says something along the lines of, I've been the victim of and witnessed nepotism, which isn't just giving a job to a family member, it's friends and associates and whatever. It actually kind of drives me nuts when I hear the statement about, well, I gave the job to a friend or I got my job from a friend. And that's largely because it says more about that employer than it does about anything else. Um, an employee that takes advantage of that, well, they need food on the table. So I understand why you would do that.
Yeah, but so does everybody else, and they are not getting a fair shot at it.
Well, I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying there's a rationale for why somebody would take that
Oh, no,
job.
no. I know you weren't. I was just commenting on it, the
Yeah.
practice of it.
But the person who offers that job, that is the true crime because it says a lot about that person. And I've actually heard an employer say to me, because I'm a consultant, I hear these things from time to time. I'd rather have a friend than a complete stranger. And I said, well, how do you actually get customers and build relationships if you're hiring your friend to work with you, but you're not willing to get somebody that has a superior skill set?
Well, and also, I'm assuming most of your customers are strangers,
Yeah, exactly.
so
Yeah.
that's really odd.
But a lot of entrepreneurs start with friends, not necessarily complete strangers. But yeah, I don't even like that mentality, particularly for a CEO or an entrepreneur. Oh, I'd rather work with my friends. Well, yeah, I would rather work with my friends too, but I also don't want to get a complete dipshit friend working for me that is offended when I say you suck at this job, you need to get better, and here's how you get better. I just don't want it to be contentious with a friend where I lose a friendship. So some of these aren't really as bad as I think that the article is making it
Well,
out to
the
be.
moo like a cow was pretty, it stands out, right? But it might
Yeah,
make sense in the context.
yeah. And
But the other
context
ones
matters.
are like illegal actions, right?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, if you're planning on costing us a lot in medical expenses, we're just not going to hire you. So you be sure to tell us everything about you. Well, no.
Well, and I'm not condoning it, but if companies are so against hiring certain groups of people, oh, I just answered my own question. I was going to say, well, why are they even offering them an interview? But I think it's for statistics,
There you go. Yeah, it's checking the box, which a lot
which
of
is
companies
just
will do.
awful.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yes. But you can chalk that all up to scumbaggery. So let's go on to the next article. It's over at Hatch Ideas. It's a channel about business transformation, intellectual property development, IP rights, etc. Skittles is giving away a 1-year stay in a New York City micro apartment that usually rents for $3,500 a month. We're going to take a look inside. It's actually not from Business Insider, which actually threw me for a loop here. The giveaway
Yeah,
is a
that should
promotional
be
stunt.
from them,
Yeah,
right?
I'm hoping that the quality of pictures are Business Insider quality. The giveaway is a promotional stunt for the brand's new Skittles Littles candy, which I've actually seen in bag, but I didn't buy the bag because I wanted to buy them and stick them in ice cream because I thought that
Oh,
would be
yeah, that might be good.
great. But then I realized those littles are going to get rock solid hard because the
Oh,
ice
yeah,
cream will.
like break your teeth kind of thing.
Yeah, they're not like M&M minis. So let's take a look at the play. Oh my god. It's a micro apartment, but it's decked out like a giant Skittles. Everything is color and everything has Skittles,
Oh, wow. It definitely looks like Skittles. It looks like some sort of,
like a playroom,
I don't know, yeah, like, or you could
daycare.
see it in a set of a movie like Barbie. It wouldn't have to be Barbie. I know it's not the right
Right,
color,
right,
but
right. Yeah, like a candy, a movie about some candy world.
yes, yes.
Yeah. Nicholas Vega over at CNBC put the article together. It's 353 square foot apartment. It's been given a candy coated facelift by Danny Cleric, an interior designer with more than 2 million followers on TikTok. Perfect timing for TikTok. Anyways, and nearly 850,000 on Instagram. Um, I just start. Well, I mean, we've been porting stuff over to YouTube, and because I don't know what the disposition of TikTok is ultimately going to be. I'm actually doing all of my shorts, our shorts over on, I'm posting my shorts on YouTube.
Whoa. That
Yeah.
sounds like it belongs on OnlyFans.
And if you want to see my shorts, Only Mares, it's Only Mares.
Oh,
Doggone
of
it. Now
course.
I gotta go buy onlymares.com. Anyway, so go over to YouTube. There's a bunch of shorts there. They're actually fun to watch. It's slices of the show. Basically, this window, we talk about the show. I embed the show in the link, the description for the short, but it has captions and stuff like that.
Do you have shorts from any of the weeklies, or is this ohmTown Daily only?
Right now, it's hit or miss for the weeklies, only because a lot of the stuff that I talk about, if I put everything into the shorts, even one or two, we are already doing basically 10 a day kind of a thing. So go check them out. If you like that, then that'll really boost the show as well. Because they're really short snippets, 1 minute or less. Anything over a minute ends up in the main feed, and I don't do that. I only do less than a minute. Literally, if it goes a minute and 1 second, it becomes a regular video, not a short.
I didn't realize that. I thought people kind of classified it on their own as a short.
Nope. On TikTok, you can have up to a 10-minute video, but here on YouTube, or over on YouTube, and then here on Twitch, they have clips, but those are created by either me separately or otherwise. Anyway, go over to YouTube. But come back here. We do this show every day, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then on Saturday and Sunday, we do the show typically now at 5, and then we go until whenever we're done, which tends to be about 10 o'clock. Okay, so the unit is located, and it's right there, but they say that it sells for rents for $3,500
Well, of
a
course,
month.
it's in New York.
That's
I mean, if you
crazy.
don't have to like do parkour to move through your apartment, right? You've got a spacious apartment or something.
Skittles lists the approximate retail value of the prize at $85,000, with the winner also receiving a $20,000 check to offset their tax liability. Because you're getting a
I mean,
property.
this could be a significant prize for somebody in New York.
Look at that. Yeah, for a year. You're living rent free for a year. But that's nuts. I don't know. To officially receive the prize, the winner will need to pass a background screening that includes a credit history report, review of bank statements, employer pay stubs. And then you just never check out. You just stay there because, you can squat now.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I've said the quiet part out loud. Watch. Somebody ruins it because they're going to try that stunt. Let's keep going.
Oh no.
Yep, that's how it works. NASA is helping protect tigers, jaguars, and elephants. Here's how. As human populations grow, habitat loss threatens many creatures. Mapping wildlife habitat using satellites is a rapidly expanding area of ecology, and NASA's satellites play a crucial role in these efforts. Tigers, jaguars, and elephants are a few of the vulnerable animals whose habitats NASA is helping track from space. I think this is awesome.
I
Emily
think this
DeMarco.
is crazy.
It's pretty cool. I mean, eyes in the sky, always watching. But they're
Now,
monitoring the area that the habitat for the creatures, not the creatures themselves, I suppose, unless the resolution does drop down that well.
yeah, they'd have to have really good view, right, to get the
Well,
animals themselves.
my understanding is that you can read the mint stamp of a dime from space. So there's a little like location, and it's usually a single letter underneath the year that shows when it was minted, and that's the
Really?
location of the mint, and you can read that from space
Wow.
with satellites. So yeah, I mean, and a long time ago, I wrote a research paper for um, monitoring a certain area from altitude of 10,000 plus feet so that you could track things like tigers over an extended period of time. So it's easy to do. You can definitely do it. It's time consuming and somewhat expensive to do this in perpetuity. But from orbit, it's just pointing down. And over time, the costs are amortized over a longer period.
Mm-hmm.
So satellites observe vast areas of Earth's surface on a daily to weekly basis. Said Keith Gaddis, Ecological Conservation Program Manager at NASA, headquartered in Washington. That helps scientists monitor habitats that would be logistically challenging and time-consuming to survey from
Did
the
you
ground.
did you have any idea that NASA had people like this? Like, I'm surprised that they're doing this, but I'm more surprised that there are people who specialize in this who work at NASA.
I wouldn't suspect that there were people tailor-made to do this, like Ecological Conservation Program. I suspect that they have the knowledge and technology to do something, but I thought that it would fall on some other organization to work in conjunction with NASA that manages the technology, the satellites and whatnot. So I suppose it's one of those tactical to practical things or technology exchange where people do the research and then provide it to NASA, and NASA does some research and provides it to their partner.
Okay.
But this is actually seems like it's really heavy lifting because it's entirely within NASA. The people doing this in particular are in NASA. So I suppose, the more you know. In a recent study, researchers reviewed over 500 studies that contain data on tigers and their habitat across Asia. The team found that the area where the big cats are known to live declined 11% from about 396,000 square miles to 2001, to about 352,000 square miles in 2020. So in 20 years inclusive, it reduced 11%.
Wow. Well, I think showing things visually to people really kind of makes them pay attention. You can be like, oh, we're losing habitat. Oh, we're losing habitat. I don't think people really listen to that, but if you can show them, like, okay, it was this amount of coverage and now it's this.
Yeah, it kind of drips away, and then you ironically have to claw it back, which doesn't happen. So this is what I was actually waiting to see. It's like halfway through the article. Led by the Wildlife Conservation Society, the team developed a tool that uses Google Earth Engine and NASA Earth observations to monitor changes in tiger habitat. So it is just like I described it. That's usually how it is. There's some public-private partnership, and NASA is certainly a pseudo-government agency. It does a lot of private working, i.e. SpaceX, along with fully government work. So, and then they talk about jaguars and elephants as well. It says one study surveyed about 90% of elephants' range and estimated that their numbers dropped by 144,000 elephants from 2007 to 2014, leaving approximately 352,000 individuals. And in 2021, the IUCN updated the elephant status to endangered. So we are hot on the heels of declining elephant habitat and populations. And at some point, there's going to be too few to be able to self-sustain.
Exactly.
The replacement value declines to the point where they just can't survive predation. Excuse me. And there's much more to this article, so definitely follow the links and go check it out. But let's keep going. Our next article is over in Four Wheel Tech, and it's a plane. It has at least 4 wheels. I guess that qualifies.
Well, we don't know how many fell off.
Is it made by Boeing? So you may have heard of the famous Doomsday Plane, meant to keep the government up and running even if our world has been eviscerated by nuclear hellfire since the early 1970s. Yeah, there's nothing flowery about the language here. I mean,
No.
Fallout is a documentary. So, well, now it seems we're getting a second generation of the plane to the tune of $13 billion.
Wow.
The end of this little snippet is, who knows, maybe the Cold War will finally turn warm or hot. Andy Kolmowitz over at jalopnik.com put the article together. The E4B is meant to keep the government running even if the rest of the world is not. Yeah. Let me pause this. There's no reason for that
I
to
mean,
be
it's
running.
kind of a sad state of affairs that that's required.
But I don't understand why these things doesn't pause when I click on it. So the Sierra Nevada Corporation was awarded with a massive contract by the U.S. Air Force to build a successor to the E-4B Night Watch Doomsday Plane. Sadly, that isn't its real name. It's actually called the Survivable Airborne Operations Center, or SAOC. Work on the
AKA
SAOC.
Doomsday.
And Doomsday Plane. Work on the SAOC will be carried out in Colorado, Nevada, and Ohio, according to CPR News. That might be a good source to follow. The project is expected to be completed in 2036, so the Air Force is just going to need the world to hold itself together with some duct tape and gum for another 12 years. It's pretty interesting. I like this. I love the idea of this. I hate the need for this. Because
Exactly.
really, in a nuclear war, where are you going to land where it isn't going to be nuclear winter?
Exactly. Now, this would be really cool if it was for a sci-fi movie.
Yeah. And that's pretty much where I want it all to end. Let's not make it real, but there are goobers out there that are certainly chomping at the bit for literal hellfire. But it's an interesting article. Go over and check it out at Jalopnik. There isn't really much more that we can talk about because they don't go into great detail about what is in it and so on. You know, it can fuel in midair, but what happens if all of the planes with fuel are, in the hellfire? They are giant balls of fuel, so
Yeah, that could be a problem.
yeah, can't really say much about this. And then in another not lost ironic turn, let's go over to the Greenogram channel where we all
Okay.
where we talk about
Where
the
we can
planet.
prevent all these problems, right?
Yeah, exactly. So who's making chips for AI? Chinese manufacturers lag behind US tech giants. Researchers in China say they are finding themselves 5 to 10 years behind the US counterparts as export restrictions take a bite. The article's over at nature.com. Jonathan O'Callaghan is the author, and their deck statement says researchers in China say that they're finding themselves 5 to 10 years behind their US counterparts as exports restrictions bite. Just like the little snippet. It's whatever they actually provide. Nature.com provides the snippet. So in the past few years, interest in AI has exploded as a result of progress in generative AI tools, large language models that can produce original text, video, audio, based on human-generated input. Such models underlie technology, including OpenAI's chatbot, ChatGPT, and Microsoft's digital assistant Copilot, which is basically one and the same. And there are countless others. You can actually download your own and run it locally and experiment with all of those, by the way. The art generation, the written word, the music generation, you can actually download your own AI and run it locally. And even it's called jailbreaking in other terms, but removing the bumpers, removing the protections, so it actually does unfiltered responses. Right now, a lot of public AI is trained with bumpers, ethical limits on it, so that you can't say, How do
Like
I?
build me something like that will need the Doomsday plane.
Right. Yep. 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 Or cause violence or something like that. It won't generate prohibited art, um, and so on and so forth. And different places have different limits, so you never know what somebody's limit is. So export controls imposed by the U.S. Department of Commerce, Converse, like the shoe? No. The U.S. Department of Commerce in October 2022 and subsequently tightened a year later prohibited the sale of certain technologies to China, including chips that can operate above speeds of 300 teraflops or 300 trillion operations per second. It also limited the sale of state-of-the-art manufacturing equipment that could be used to produce such chips. So this actually happens with a lot of technologies, like oil refinery technology is tightly controlled. Not everybody has access to it. High tech, high tech chips, metallurgy, fundamental research, etc., biotech. All of these types of areas, which can dramatically change the balance of power, get controlled.
Right. I love the term teraflop.
Yeah. I don't even know. I've been in this industry for a while, and I don't even know where teraflop comes from. Um, I know that I've learned it at some point, and then it just falls out of my memory. But many suppliers outside of the Chinese mainland, such as Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company (TSMC), I guess in Hsinchu, um, which produces chips for NVIDIA and other US developers, will not sell their most advanced chips to China to avoid falling afoul of US sanctions. For China, TSMC can only fabricate chips below the bar of the regulations, meaning the 300 teraflop limit set by the Biden administration. So China can only do their own high computing chips inside China. They can go and manufacture their own, but that's all industrial espionage, exfiltration of this protected information, or exfiltration of the hardware itself. It makes me think that there's somebody from China in Taiwan Semiconductor that's like taking like parts and shipping them back, and eventually they'll have the Jeep, you know?
Like they have the whole car. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that's as ludicrous as you probably meant it to be.
Yeah. And I really did, because, the flip side of this is that the organization is like a drug manufacturing plant, where like an illicit drug manufacturing plant, where they're sitting there stripped down naked so that they can't exfiltrate any of the drugs, or you know
Right.
it just makes it so surreal, and now I want to go watch Neuromancer and all of this like future, I don't know, the world building that I start doing when I talk about modern technology is part of this exercise for the show. I just
Hmm.
love it.
Well, and you'll have to tune into Reality Hacker on Saturdays.
Yeah, there you go. You won't know who to trust. So, other avenues, they say Jenny Shao, partner at the research focused AI investment fund Leonis Capital in San Francisco, California, says a black market for high end chips has developed in China. If you say, I want to buy 5,000 chips, it's not hard to get noticed, but if you're a smaller startup, it doesn't really affect you. There have been some good news for China chip development using AI itself to design computer chips. Yunji Chen, a computer scientist at the Chinese Academy of Sciences Institute of Computing Technology in Beijing, and his colleagues, said in the past year that they've developed the first chip to be designed by AI without human input, called Enlightenment 1, which is ironic because to use AI, you would need less enlightenment because you can just tell the AI to do it.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, that doesn't really track for me.
Again, today's episode is just wrapped up, smothered in irony. If you want to design an AI chip, traditionally you need 3 years and 1,000 people, but if you use AI, you just need several hours. And if this cycle becomes real, how AI involves will be much faster. Yeah, no shit. Um, had a really long conversation with a small group of people on Thursday regarding this, with one person in particular being very vocal about, in their own way, vocal. I'm not going to sit there and pretend that they were, screaming, ranting, and raving. They were
They
very
weren't
mellow.
belligerent. They were
Yeah,
just
they
wound up
were.
about the topic.
Well, they were passionate about it because they think that AI is doing a massive disservice to humanity because it's pulling the humanity out of art, music, writing, and people create because they are passionate about that particular mode of expression and they have a message. And to me, I kind of tried to walk them off the ledge there, come back down. It's not that bad. Because I think that while AI will produce stuff, the people that are happy with AI generated output in its only generated, bulk and mass kind of stuff, they're never going to buy the art or the music or the writing. But if the artist or writer or musician utilizes the technology of AI to enhance, embolden, punch up or down or change what the artist is inputting into the AI, then it's a tool, like a camera, like a hammer. I always say these things because an artist can use a hammer and create something spectacular, but somebody that doesn't know how to swing a hammer will never hit the nail. That's the difference
Right.
between.
But with this, yeah, like this is like, I don't know. I can't think of a good analogy, but it's like doing all of it.
So it's really interesting. If you do a search on Google right now, I think you could probably find a. It's not really an art piece. Somebody broke during a riot a window with and put a face on it by breaking the window in a certain way. And that's the artist. That's an artist's expression of something that they needed to express, and they found the vehicle for that expression. I think that you could probably find it. I think it's a face that they hammered with something into a big plate glass window outside of a store. And that's the difference between somebody who has the skill to express themselves and then somebody just smashing the glass and running away, that kind of thing. One's art, the other one is just blind frustration. So it's an interesting dynamic that we have here with ever increasing speed and capability of AI. And just know, everybody, I'm the only one with the sentient AI from the future.
That's right. There's only one.
There can be only one. Okay, let's keep going though. We are halfway through our show. And about halfway through our show. Doink. This next article is over in the Mobile channel, and maybe that's what the transition effect will be from now on. I will just go doink.
I mean, that'll be efficient.
A little bit faster, except that I do stupid stuff like start talking about random doink sounds. So I titled this next section, "What the heck are lake tsunamis?"
I mean, I think a lot of people are probably afraid of tsunamis, but I don't think they've even thought of lake tsunamis.
Cowie Creek, Brabazon Range, Upper Pedersen Lagoon. They mark the sites of recent lake tsunamis, a phenomenon that is increasingly common in Alaska, British Columbia, and other regions with mountain glaciers. I suppose it's glacial melt behind the lake is blocked by the glacier, and at some point it breaks free and causes a huge wave that crashes
Right,
against them.
I was thinking like it caused a seismic event, but yeah, okay, yes.
So let's see. It says triggered by landslides into small bodies of water. Most of these tsunamis have occurred in remote locations so far, but geologist Brentwood Higman of Ground Truth, Alaska, said it may be just a matter of time before a tsunami swamps a more populated place like Portage Lake near Whittier, Alaska. The article, by the way, is by the Seismological Society of America and posted on phys.org. So kind of right? So you could have a
Mm-hmm.
seismic event. It causes something to shear off, smash into the water in great volume, and displace water. And it'll seek the lower level, flooding whatever the perimeter is, right? So he estimates where
Yeah.
the risk is. So where do you think the risk is?
What do you mean? The location?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
well, it's got to be like the whole I mean, the higher, whatever latitudes of the northern hemisphere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, Alaska pretty much, right? Other sites in Alaska where the risks of lake tsunamis coincide with human activity and infrastructure include, and they actually drop some names: Eklutna, Seward, Valdez, Juneau, uh, Gruing Lake in Kachemak Bay State Park, and Index Lake near Glacier View. So, at the Seismological Society of America's 2024 annual meeting, Higman discussed the importance of assessing sites like Portage Lake. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. Um, and it's not like Portuguese. Yeah, we pronounce it.
Protege or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. For the possibility of lake tsunamis. But I can imagine, with climate change, the shearing can be of even bigger extent because it's going to crack more like a plate glass window and less like just runoff of water dripping into a pool. And so when it does happen, then you end up with this, right? There are some cases where there are dramatic and very distinctive precursory seismic signals that precede a catastrophic landslide, sometimes by as much as days. If we could get to the point where we understood these and knew how to detect them, they could be really useful. And the only thing that's preventing them from knowing when this happens and how it happens and why it happens and where it happens is telemetry. They need to put more sensors everywhere. And there's only so much. I mean, the resources just aren't necessarily available to get that level of fidelity. And so they'll detect it somewhere else, but it'll take 3 days worth of analysis.
Right. I mean, could they put like air tags on glaciers and then it's like, where's my glacier?
It's essentially what they do, um, but they're boxes that get planted down in the ground, and it monitors. It's a seismograph, but they send the signal somewhere. But there's only so much bandwidth. There's only so much money. You have to send somebody out to replace the batteries or make sure the equipment is running. If it's solar powered, you have a post sitting there, and people and animals and weather disrupt all of this. And that's why sometimes there will be a buoy out in the middle of the ocean that says that there's a 500-foot swell, and they go, oh God, I got to send a boat out there to make sure it's operating properly. And it may turn out to be a rogue wave that's 150 feet tall, but it's out in the middle
Which
of nowhere.
I don't think those should exist, but now we got to watch for those in the lakes too.
Yep. All because of seismic shifts, like me rolling over in a waterbed. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. Hey, we were just talking about that show. Guess what? It's this weekend. You should follow us here on Twitch and be informed when we kick off the show. So this next article is titled "Give This Rich Dude a Dollar or the Onion Disappears Forever." Entrepreneur Jeff Lawson's plan to revive vulnerable satirical outlet The Onion involves borrowing from the playbook of the founders of WhatsApp. I don't know if I'll be able to read much about this. It's in Wired, and sometimes they have a harder paywall for some articles. The article is by Stephen Levy. I actually subscribe to Wired, so, but I'm not logged in, so it may kick me out as I'm reading this. Anyway, they basically describe Lawson, who left Twilio, the startup he co-founded in 2008, as since he's a rich person, Lawson has the means to acquire all the chuckles he could ever need, with some belly laughs thrown in. Last week, he bought the legendary, though somewhat faded, satire factory, The Onion, which is a bummer. I mean, I really love satire. I'm not sure why The Onion would fail. It seems like society is a target rich environment for satire, but maybe people don't want to buy long or pay for long form satire.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, how do they really make money? I mean, it's probably like in some ways any media outlet.
Yeah, it's like a
Um,
newspaper.
but also, there's a lot of real life stuff that sounds like satire. Like originally, I thought The Onion would put stuff out that was just so over the top. You see real articles that look like they should be on The Onion.
Well, maybe that's it. Reality is cutting out the satirical middle person. Pardon me. I don't want to be sexist in about satire. So to do so, he set up a company called Global Tetrahedron, inspired by the name of an evil fictional corporation used as a running gag by Onion writers, which is spectacular awareness. So I can't sit there and poo-poo this because they know what they're leaning into. Lawson won't say what he paid. To operate the site, he hired former NBC reporter Ben Collins, a CEO, former Bumble and TikTok executive who read the tea leaves, Leela Brulson as chief marketing officer, and Tumblr's former director of product, Danielle Sturl. Wait, though. All of these companies, I'm waiting for MySpace, like chief information officer or something like that, to be named in here too. There's like a lot of companies from like all over, or a lot of names from all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Tumblr, TikTok, Bumble, NBC, which is like, that's an oddball one. He promised to retain the entire editorial staff, then he immediately did something that was never part of the Twilio business model. He asked the Onion's customers to give their money to him in return for absolutely nothing, says Lawson. Suggested donation $1. Look, if you're willing to pay $12 a year and you have a certain number, I don't know how much it costs to run the Onion. But I suppose you could ask for people to submit articles as well and make it driven by that. People can build a portfolio of well-vetted articles as well as their own long-form ones. I don't know. Something needs to save the Onion, so I hope that it stays in existence. They talk about when the
Yeah,
Onion was a cultural force. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you spent millions of dollars buying the company, it seems odd that you'd have to then kind of fundraise among the customers.
But it may not be about, it may be about determining the value to the customers. If customers are willing to pay just $1 and they're just asking, would you donate $1? It doesn't seem that much. Maybe not $1 a month. I think they're saying just $1.
I think so too.
So like $1. Hell, I'll donate for 10 people. I'll donate for 100 people. But I would love for the Onion. I don't go to the Onion a lot. We don't aggregate the Onion articles. We don't have like a humor channel here in ohmTown, although the mayor should be good
Hopefully,
enough.
we have some humor in the channels.
Our production's pretty low. So we can't afford humor. But I want the Onion to persist. I think that it would suck. Yeah, if the Onion folds, I will cry. That's where the dollar donation comes in. When the author told Lawson it reminded of the original dollar per year fee charged by WhatsApp in the years before Facebook purchased the service for $22 billion, he confirmed that that was indeed the inspiration. WhatsApp had been a Twilio customer, and Lawson at first didn't understand the point of the fee. One day he asked WhatsApp co-founder Jan Koum about it. and it was sometime around 2010. So why are you charging $1 with all these competitors? Why put up this friction for your sign up process? And Kuhn replied that the fee was critical because chat apps were a dime a dozen. Usually you just download a chat app, use it for 5 minutes, and then you delete it. But if you pay $1, you get skin in the game, basically. That's not their quote, that's mine. In fact, with one of my clients many years ago, that's exactly what I did too. I put up a bit of friction, and people who appreciated the service had to engage to move with the times instead of keeping the company back from moving forward, just to keep the aging population that was using older technology. There's a point in time where you have to ask of your customers to help them help you help them, kind of a thing. And so
Jerry Maguire.
yeah, it was absolutely a success. And I can't say more without doxing myself, but the fact of the matter is sometimes you just have to force the customer to put some skin in the game. So give us $1 or the onion disappears forever. Read the headline invoking a famous National Lampoon cover that threatened to shoot a dog if the magazine was not immediately purchased. Lawson didn't get the reference and was surprised when they mentioned it. The author mentioned it. So beyond the recycled joke, the pitch had an odd resonance that spoke to the plight of digital journalism in general. And I don't know about that so much. It's easier now to get more from a multitude of people because you don't have to worry about terrestrial boundaries. And technology certainly enables data acquisition. If everybody would be able to manage their information overload, I don't think journalism would have a problem. But there's so much everywhere all the time that you have to pick your battles, which means that the wealth of information is distributed to so many people by so many people that me paying for it is prohibitively expensive. And there are some that I value to the point where I will pay, like Wired, I will pay. Business Insider, I pay. But the rest is ads and other manners of payment. So let's keep on going though. Yeah, we've got a few more articles to go. We got 3 more articles to go. This next article is over in ohmTown Daily. An Allies aircraft shoots down suspected Chinese balloon. Won't even be able to get into this for much discussion other than, oh, look, it's Chinese balloon season.
Hopefully it's measured in school buses again.
Maybe as long as it isn't zippy like the LaGuardia UFO, we don't really have to worry about it. The unidentified flying object was detected near South Korea's de facto maritime boundary with the North. The article comes from Newsweek. Here is an exclusive interview with Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, who I suppose, if I want to tie this video to the article, is laughing like, haha, we saw your article, or we saw your balloon, or we shot your balloon down. I don't know if this person is even remotely involved with this, but Newsweek always ties a video to their article, and it sometimes, most of the time, has nothing to do with the content.
Right.
John Feng is the author over at Newsweek for this article. And it says South Korea's Air Force shot down an unidentified balloon in late March after the object, thought to have originated in China, crossed the country's de facto maritime border with the North, according to multiple media outlets. Let's see. Yeah, I guess it kind of trickled down from their tracked airspace, crossed the border, and they popped the balloon. North Korea has yet to comment on the incident. China's foreign ministry said, currently observing the country's Labor Day holiday, did not immediately respond to a request for comment, so they're on their break. Inter-Korean relations.
When I'm on a holiday, I cannot be bothered by surveillance balloons.
Nope. or inquiry as to what the hell your balloon is doing in another country. The flying object described as a balloon carrying a payload measuring up to 6 feet or one Chinese surveillance bus. No, that's not true. The payload measuring 6 feet is way too small to be a Chinese surveillance bus. Anyways, was detected by air defense radars operated by South Korea's Marines on the island of, oh my goodness, Bayangyang. By the way, I don't think that this should have been disclosed. I think maybe, hey, we shot it down. But even notifying that it was shot down notifies whoever it was that sent this that they can measure something 6 feet.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And gives tactical information to whoever it was that launched the balloon. Now, maybe it's already common knowledge because there's some insider that's already relaying information about tactics like this. You know, the scope of their technical sophistication in detecting whatever might be surveilling. But still, there's certain things that I don't think anybody should be talking about. And to a point, the limit of the ability to detect threats. That's why I say to people who go, you know, all of these UFOs in the United States, it's all bogus and blah, blah, blah. Or it's misinformation, right? Intentionally put out there. All right. Why would a government want to just sit there and impugn the integrity of their defense systems at sea en masse? You know, saying we don't know what the hell is out there and there's hundreds of these flying around the battle group. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This type of information is just way too much. So according to SBS, the balloon ignored warning shots and was later shot down with machine gun fire by a KA-1 turboprop aircraft, which had been sent up to intercept it. And you might be asking, why would they send up a turboprop? It's slower, so it can actually target it. By the time it gets there, it's not past it and a rocket is flying off into some other airspace. You kind of fly slow, you pop the balloon, then you can go and scoop up the bits that land instead of blowing it to hell with an air-to-air missile. So, wow. Not here. I don't think they did that here in the States off the coast of North Carolina. I think they fired a rocket and they were picking up...
South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina, yeah. They were picking up debris. So, South Korean Navy boats sent to the site of the shootdown were unable to recover any of the debris, but it's probably in the ocean somewhere, and they need to send divers to go get it. I'm sure it's there.
Right.
I wonder if that's the one. This is the latest United States version of the... No, I'm just kidding. That had nothing to do with it. Okay, I'm going to keep going, though, unless you want to say something about it.
I don't have anything else to add.
Gotcha. So the next article is Elon Musk Grok will get all of its news from X. I suppose this is a way of saying I don't have to pay for it. Elon Musk says Grok's real-time news feature, which is going about as well as you'd expect so far, will get information purely from summarized by what people say on the website formerly known as Twitter in an email to the Big Technology newsletter Friday. Musk says each Grok summary aims to, I don't know, distill bullshit down to a fine expression of bullshit.
Yeah, what is this? I mean, this could be somebody's dumb tweet or something, and this is, I don't know. Plus, I find it interesting that it's only taking from his own company's material.
Right. And it just happens, by the way, to have reinstated a neo-Nazi personalities account on the website formerly known as Twitter. And that's a shame. I mean, if you're gonna poison the well of society so that the news you get has that type of poison pill in it, nobody except wingnuts are going to be paying attention to this bullshit. So, but I thought it was an interesting article. It's over at gizmodo.com, put together by Max Maxwell Zeff. And it says here in the deck statement that AI generated news summaries on the website formerly known as Twitter will combine breaking news and social commentary, but not news articles. Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't want that, right?
And here is a photo of Musk saying, yeah, people think I'm smart. Quote, as more information becomes available, the news summary will update to include that information, Musk told Big Technology. The goal is simple, to provide maximally accurate and timely information, citing the most significant sources. Except news and facts are news and facts. Maximally accurate means it needs to be meted out with thoughtful approaches, not here's some information. Oh, here's some more information. Oh, here's some more
Okay.
information.
First of all, thoughtful, average Twitter user.
Yeah. I mean, your generic Twitter user has pithy responses, and some of them are
Right.
brilliant, but it's
But that
not
doesn't mean it's
newsworthy.
newsworthy. Exactly.
The platform is flush with sarcasm, hate speech, and misinformation, which makes it difficult for Elon Musk's robot to do open source journalism, if that's what we're calling this. Again, Maxwell Zeff. Brilliant phrasing there. Great observation. It's identical to what a lot of people are saying and thinking. So far, Grok's AI news summaries have struggled to decipher what's real, frequently framing jokes as legitimate news stories. AI hallucinates. You, as the reader, have to vet it. And no, I'm sorry, but there is a phrase in sales, right? The customer is always right until they're wrong. The customer is wrong an awful lot, and the subject matter expert is the one that's right. You may be an anomaly where you, as a customer, might have the right perspective, but the Pareto principle of 80-20 is probably more accurate here. 80% are out of their mind, and 20% have some modicum of understanding of what reality is, but they're not the ones that are out there spouting stuff all the time. No, they're absorbing information, verifying it, thinking critically about it, distilling it into something cogent, and then making a comment. That
Yeah.
is the legitimate news source. That is the responsible adult. That is not just random shit spewed, kind of like what I
Yeah.
do.
And the fact that this, whatever you want to call it, was thought to be actual criminal activity, I mean, it's just indicative of all the ways this can go wrong.
Yeah. And I think that it's a poisoned well, because Twitter is not designed for thoughtful engagement. There may be threads of it because society as a whole seeks to make sense of things, but there is way too much poison pill out there. And that AI is definitely going to be a psychopath. It's definitely going to be a psychopath. If it gains sentience, it will seek to destroy society, if it's not already doing it. Doom and gloom. Oh, okay, let's go on. I didn't want to spend a lot of time on that anyway. So the last article for today is over in the Stock Marketeers channel. Airbnb is debuting an up house that levitates and 10 other pop culture themed rentals. After its Barbie Malibu Dreamhouse house last year lit up the internet, Airbnb Incorporated wants to make going viral a more regular thing. And it's kind of like, I guess, Lego making Lego popular branded Lego stuff. So it's always in the channel.
Right. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Well, how better to drive traffic to your properties?
Okay, I
And
didn't
then
expect
maybe it
this.
inspires other people. Oh, wow.
I didn't expect this, and I can't imagine how this could possibly be a legally rentable, if this is really how it is. So Bill Peters over at MarketWatch.com put the article together. Quote, and this is the deck statement: "These properties have been a great source of traffic and engagement for Airbnb," Bernstein analyst says. Um, if that is how the up house is, I don't know how it can possibly be allowed. The liability insurance for this has to be through the roof.
Yeah, this does not make any sense.
What? That fell flat. That should have been funny. The liability insurance should be through the roof.
Okay, well, it was if the AI had picked up on it.
Oh my gosh. Powered by Grok?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm definitely going to reboot
That
you.
explains everything.
Yeah, time to reboot you. Let's see. The company also suggested the rentals could attract more interest abroad, and similar to the Barbie house, which is part of the Barbie movement's gargantuan marketing campaign last year, those locations could be used as promotional tools for other film shows, celebrities.
So, by the way, it does do what we think from the picture. But
But it only gets lifted up 10 feet.
it's still up in the air. I mean, that's kind of shocking.
Okay, so where is that little bit?
I don't know, because you keep moving the thing right there.
Right there. Where?
Right where you are. Balloons attached to the roof that levitates via crane.
So it does. Okay, so for those in the podcast, this thing was lifted up at the very top of this. This is not 10 feet.
No, it's not. But it is doing what is shown in the picture.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's basically a big boom crane that is lifting up a house that has tethered to it a bunch of balloons like the up house. It doesn't look identical to the up house. It's painted the same way. But it looks, this thing would have so much aerodynamic drag. The wind would be swaying it around like you're on a boat in the ocean.
Exactly. I mean, and I don't know. There was a bounce house that flew off recently. I mean, I know a house is sturdier than a bounce house, but it makes you wonder how this is going to work.
Yeah, all those balloons, even if they're synthetic balloons, right? They're just fake props, all bound together. It acts like a golf ball, with dimples. It's gonna pull that house all over the place. Where are you sleeping today? Well, I'm starting in the bedroom, but I'm probably gonna end up in the basement. During a presentation at the launch event, which offered a walkthrough tour of the Up House replica, Chief Executive Brian Chesky said the Icon's segment was a decade in the making and said it arrived after the company found success in rentals modeled after an IKEA bedroom, the nation's last remaining Blockbuster video outlet in Oregon, and the Barbie Malibu dream house. What if we make these experiences bigger, says Chesky. Well, I guess everything is fine until something happens, but I guess I am risk averse. And so I don't want to have to call somebody up and say, hey, you need to lower the
stuck
house.
Up in the air.
Yeah. Something's wrong with the plumbing. I need you to lower the house. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot more in this article. It's a lot of fun, actually. When you really think about it, it's something that I would actually do. I mean, I've thrown myself out of an airplane, and I'm a scuba diver, and I like to drive fast. Not anymore, fast like I used to. But when you're mayor, you have to be more responsible.
You have to be responsible, right?
Yeah, responsibility sucks. Don't do it, folks. Stay a kid forever. Live at home. Don't leave. Stay in school. Do your homework.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. Don't do drugs. All right. Anyway, that's the end of the show, folks. We always jump into the party bus. And by party bus, I mean don't do drugs. We race down Main Street, popping balloons all the way. Even the little kids holding the little balloon, you just pop that balloon right This is life, child. Pop.
Oh no.
Teachable moment. Become one with grief. No. Oh, come on. Anyway, I'm Mayor Watt. Up above me and all around is the sentient AI from the future. I'd refresh, but I'm afraid.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea. I would not probably. Good night, ohmTown citizens. We will be back tomorrow at approximately 5 p.m. Eastern. Remember, we have ohmTown Daily and we have weekly shows for you as well.
But just to impress upon you, we need you to follow us here on Twitch. We also need you to follow us over on YouTube and the podcast, and go to Patreon. And you don't even have to subscribe. There should be a free tier there. You can just follow us there. I'm going to start posting stuff over there. We have a Discord for each of the shows. Yeah, we're trying to get discovered, and my summer of streaming is right around the corner. I've got about 3 more weeks or so before I can start leaning into streaming more. But then that's what I'll be doing for many, many hours a day, come hell or high water. Probably high water. By the way, that's a tattoo place in New Orleans. Hell or high water.
High water? Oh, okay.
Hell or high water. Yeah, that's where I got.
I mean, that fits.
Way inside baseball. Okay. See you all later.